Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Dennis. I've been playing HVZ for 4 years now, and I'm here to try and help you pick the best blaster for your new HVZ experience. Note that this video is not meant for old school modders and people who've been doing this for a while. This video is to try and help those new HVZ players who are just starting now pick the best blaster for their budget that they don't have to modify in order to have a good time with. So basically the way this video is going to work is I'm going to slowly increase in price with each blaster, and you can stop watching when you get to your price range or keep watching to see how far the price range extends. A couple notes before we get into this. I'm going over just the basics of each of these blasters and why I think they're good for first-time HVZ players. To get full reviews and all the details on these blasters that you could want, there will be links in the description for every single blaster that I talk about here. Note that this video is also being recorded at the end of August 2017, so there might be new blasters that come out after this video has been made, and obviously I don't know about them yet, but I will probably make a follow-up video to this either 6 or 12 months later, so stay tuned for that. If that amount of time has passed already and you're looking for that video, click on it here. I have personally gone to various stores and verified that all of these blasters are still available right now, more or less. So one more thing I want to go over before I dive in is that there's two classes of blasters. There's Springer blasters, which you have to manually prime in order to fire. So this is an example of a Springer blaster. You can't just fire by pulling the trigger. You have to pull back to prime it, and then it'll fire by pulling the trigger. Then you have automatic blasters, which require batteries, and you have to rev up by pulling the rev trigger, and then you pull the main trigger in order to fire. Most of the blasters on this list will be Springers, but there will be a few motorized blasters that I'll go over later. So let's get right into it. So let's start with the cheapest way to play this game, and that's to not even buy a blaster. There's two other tools that you can use in this game that don't require any sort of blaster. The first is socks. Really simple. They're just balled up socks. Go to your local Walmart, dollar store, whatever else, buy the cheapest socks you can find, ball them up, throw a piece of duct tape on them, if your school allows that, some don't, and throw them at people. Carry them in any pouches, cargo, short pockets, anything like that. They're easy to carry around, easy to use because you probably already know how to throw things. You don't need to learn how to use a blaster, and you're all set to go. The other thing you can get is a blowpipe. Really simply, this is up to 3 feet, at least that's my campus's rules. You should check yours before you buy one to make sure you're adhering to their rules. Up to 3 feet of 1/2 inch PVC. You will probably want some sort of mouthpiece on the end of it, that just to keep it from going into your mouth if someone were to run into it. But it's really simple to use. Simply load up a dart in the back and blow, and it shoots a dart. Really simple to use. Would highly recommend for if you're playing further away from the zombies. Once they get close, I would switch to socks or maybe a blaster or something like that. This is a really cheap and easy way to use to play HVZ. Obviously, this also requires you to buy darts, but that's much cheaper than buying a whole blaster. This whole assembly will probably cost you under $2 depending on your local hardware store. And really easy to find because just about every hardware store will carry 1/2 inch PVC. Next on the list, we're going to get into actual blasters. So the first place to go on this list is Singleshot blasters. These will generally range from like $5 to $10, maybe $15 depending on where you're looking. And they're basically really simple to use. You load one dart into a blaster, pull back wherever you pull back, and fire the blaster. Super simple to use. However, it is a pretty slow rate of fire as you have to individually load each dart. Of course, this is a super cheap way to play, and you can find these blasters usually at even like a pharmacy. You don't have to go to a Target, Walmart, or Toys R Us to find them. There's a few options in pictures here, the most common of which is a Jolt. I'll have links in the description. Up next, we move into blasters with a little bit more capacity. So this is going to be the $10 to $15 range, depending on where you find them and what sales are going on. But the 3 blasters that I recommend here are the Strong Arm / Disruptor. They're basically the same blaster. Just pick whichever one you like the looks of better, or whichever one has a bigger discount on it currently, because they're literally the same thing. Or the Hammer Shot. These have a couple differences between the two. The strong arm you have to pull back to prime and has one more dart capacity. The hammer shot you can prime with one hand, which means that you can easily carry two of them. So those are the biggest benefits of that. If you want, I'm going to link to a full video by Nerf where he discusses the differences between both of them and tells you which one he prefers. It's a much more in-depth video, so you'll want to check that out if you're having trouble deciding between these two. Next, we're going to move into the $15 to $20 range. So the cheaper blaster of the two in this range is the Dart Zone Ballistics Powerball. This is the first blaster I'll be talking about that uses balls instead of darts. It is a Springer, as in its pump action. It sounds really loud and hits pretty hard. It comes with this little hopper here, similar to paintball. You open it up, load balls inside, close it, and then you're ready to fire. Really simple to use, really easy, and neat thing about this is that if this hopper is too small for you, one, you can easily leave it open and keep putting balls in here as you're playing so you'll never run out, or you can take this off altogether and use Nerf hribal magazines, which they sell separately. It'll look a little bit funky, weird unicorn shape, but it'll work. Next on the list in this category is the $20 Dart Zone Magnum. This is by far the best bang for your buck blaster that you can get. For $20, you get a high power blaster with slam fire, meaning that you can just hold down the trigger and keep priming it and it'll keep firing for faster fire rate. And it holds up to 40 rounds in this 40 round drum without needing to reload. It's also front fed, so you can just put in darts as you please as you're running out that you can carry in a pouch. No need for magazines with this blaster. This is definitely the most you're going to get for your money on this entire list is this blaster right here. Only $20 right here. Next, we're going to move into the $20 to $30 range. There's two blasters in this range, both made by Nerf, and they're fairly similar but slightly different, and those are the Strife and the Retaliator. So the similarities are that they're both mag-fed, so you need to carry magazines in order to feed them, and they're both some of the most easy to mod and have the most mod potentials of any blaster on this list. There are tons and tons of kits for these and pieces to replace if you decide to get into modifying your Nerf blasters. I'll have more videos on how to do these things here. That's where the similarities end and the differences begin. The Retaliator is a spring action blaster, which means that you have to prime it individually in order to fire. So one prime, one shot, really simple to use. The Strife is also simple to use, but it is motorized, so you keep batteries in here, 4 AA's. You rev it here with this rev trigger, and then you pull the trigger once to fire one dart. It is only semi-automatic, not fully automatic, so you can't just hold down the trigger and keep firing. But one dart, one trigger pull gets you one dart, gets you one zombie tag, which is all you need in this game. I almost never recommend full auto blasters, except for this next one. This is the Dart Zone Light Command. Unfortunately, I don't have one on me here to demonstrate, but I'll have a link to a video down in the description. Basically, the way this works is it is a full automatic blaster that works with a belt. It's a 20 round belt, similar to the Dart Zone Magnum. You can just keep loading darts in there as you play with it, as you fire them off. And the full auto is slow enough that you can pull the trigger once and quickly release to only fire one dart at a time, similar to the semi-automatic function of a Strife. So if you want a blaster that you don't need magazines for, but you still want it to be motorized, this is the blaster for you. Next, we're going to take a bit of a jump to the $40 to $45 range. It's not that there aren't any blasters between the two ranges, just none that I would recommend for a first-time HVZ player. So in this range, we have the rival Artemis. This is my favorite blaster on this list for first-time HVZ players. Yes, it's a little bit expensive compared to everything else we've talked about, but you get a lot for that money. One, you use ball ammo. So the rival Artemis comes with 3 of these built-in magazines, so it carries up to 30 darts. It's really easy to load. You simply take balls and put them into the holes up top here. And it's pump action, so prime, fire. Really simple to use. Really easy, and if you want, I can show you what I did to modify mine. Video here. Up next on the list is the Nerf rival Hera. Now this blaster is basically the Strife of the rival ball line. It takes magazines and it's motorized, so you pull down the rev trigger and then you fire one ball at a time with the main trigger. The downsides are that it's $60, which can be a little bit pricey for this. I personally don't think it's worth it yet, but maybe in the future when it drops down to like 50 or 40 or it goes on sale, I would highly recommend picking one up. Or if after watching this video, this is exactly what you want out of a blaster for HVZ, go pick one up now. It's definitely a good blaster for your money. And lastly, the last and most expensive blaster on this list is the Nerf rival Nemesis. This is an amazing blaster. It's $100, which is the only downside. It's also a little bit heavy, I guess. But it holds 100 balls up here. It is fully automatic, so pull rev trigger, pull main trigger, and you can fire as many of these as you want without letting go of the trigger. And it's just a ton of fun. Of course, it's really expensive for a first blaster, but if you have the money to spend and you fall in love with HVZ, I would highly recommend this. You will have so much fun. Now remember that 100 balls isn't going to make you invincible. You're still going to get tagged, but you will have a blast getting tagged because of how much fun this blaster is. So I would highly recommend, if you have the money for it, to pick one of these up. They are so much fun, absolutely worth the $100. So now that you've seen all the blasters, there's also a couple other things to consider before picking which one you want. This is by far not all of the blasters that are available. There are so many more to choose from. A lot of them include fun gimmicks, or force you to play in different play styles, have less capacity, have more capacity. There's a ton of different ways to play this game, and you should pick the blaster that you think you will have the most fun with. This guide was just to show you which ones are the most practical for the least amount of money, up until I got to the Nemesis. One of those being whether you want to use things like magazines that hold your darts for you and you have to replace the entire magazine every time you run out of darts in your blaster, or if you simply want to carry around handfuls of darts in your pockets or pouches and then reload them one at a time as you fire them. This is all dependent on your playstyle and will probably take you a few games to figure out which one of these you like better. You'll also want to figure out which ammo type you like better, balls or darts. There's a ton of variations of different darts out there, and you can watch this video to see the differences between some of them. Of course, more different dart types are coming out every day, so that video might be a little bit out of date by the time you're watching this. I'll have new ones coming out shortly. The biggest differences between the two: balls are generally more accurate and easier to carry around, but darts will fly further and straighter for that full amount of time. The other thing you'll want to know is to find out on your campus which one of these is being used more. If no one else is using ball ammo, it's going to be really hard to find them on the ground, pick them up to reload your blaster, or find balls to fill your blaster up after missions or other things like that. If everyone else is using darts, you'll probably want to stick with darts for ease of use. Anyway, like I said earlier, there will be links to reviews for all of these blasters down in the description. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. Find me on Facebook, Instagram, wherever, and message me there. Special thank you to Nerf and Bobololo for providing me footage and reviews of the blasters. I will link to both their channels at the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you out there.